Last year, I got a sneak peek of the Lymow One in its pre-production form. I got to see how this was able to maneuver around the yard and go over different obstacles. I quickly named it the Tank because of how well it was able to maneuver. Well, this year I now have one, a full production model here at my home to fully test out and see all that it can do. Huge thank you to Lymow for sponsoring this video. Let's get started. Now, first I want to talk about some of the changes very similar to what we saw last year, but still the nice beast that we saw and some improvements that have been made. Now, first we have the nice track tread tires here that look amazing. And then up here we have the cutting deck. Now, this is a 16-inch cutting deck or 400 millimeters, very wide. It's able to cut through lawn very quickly. It's going to be able to mow 0.57 acres in less than one charge, which is amazing. And a full day you could mow 1.73 acres, which is incredible. So it goes out, mows, recharges, keeps mowing, and all kinds of stuff. Now, as how this system is going to work is an RTK as well as a V-SLAM system. So here we have some cameras that are able to navigate, and then there are 5 different ultrasonic sensors around so that it can see different objects and maneuver around them. And then on the front, there's also a bump sensor. So if it bumps into anything, it will be able to turn and change the direction it is going. Now, with that RTK, you can cover an area of 15 acres, which is incredible. My home is very, very small. So we're gonna see if we can test out some larger areas, and then it can go up a slope of 45 degrees. We'll see if we can test that out too. Now let's check out the mulching rotary blades that are built into here. So by holding down the plus, I can easily raise this up. This is going to be great for cleaning and maintenance. And let's check out what these blades look like. So here at the bottom, we have the rotary mulching blades. So these are unlike any other robot mower blades that I've seen. You can just see how thick those are. And these are able to rotate up to 6,000 RPMs. Now, checking out the width here, this is up to the 16 inches or about 41 centimeters, which is quite a large cutting deck. It's going to be able to cut the lawn so fast, and you can also set like how much it's overlapping as it is going and mowing the lawn. And you actually have 2 different ways in which it can expel the grass that it cuts. So it's only cutting a little bit at a time, but right now it is on mulching mode. So it's just going to kind of shoot the grass every which way, but it comes with these adapters that we can swap out right here, and that turns it into discharge mode. So then it's going to shoot the grass out of the side, so it's not mulching as much, but you can then clean it up off your driveway and different things like that. But this is going to make cutting the lawn so much faster. Then it also has these 2 different wheels here that can rotate in multiple ways, so that will move depending on which height you set this at, and it can go from a 1.2-inch cut to a 4-inch cut, and you can easily adjust that height depending on the area of the map. With that large area of coverage, it can also cover 80 different zones. So front yard, backyard, side yard, all the different yards you can think of, it will be able to cover those. And then this has a run time of 3 hours long with this massive battery that it has in the back. And so it can continuously charge, run, and cover that 1.73 acres, which is just crazy. I forgot to mention, this beast weighs about 80 pounds. It is also IPX6 water resistant, so jets of water are going to be no problem for this. There is a rain sensor on the top so that you can have it not mow while it's raining. And then we're going to do some obstacle avoidance tests today. It can see anything above 2 inches in height. So by the end of this video, hopefully you'll be able to understand if this is the right lawnmower for your home, because this can do so much more. Let's get to unboxing. All right, so here we have some instructions. We have the RTK, pretty tall antenna. We have plenty of extension cords and power cables to get it to where we need to go. There's even a wall mount if you want to mount the RTK onto your roof, and some screws for that. And then here we have our massive stake to get the RTK mounted into the ground. And under here, we have the Lymow One. Now, this thing is massive. So over here on the side, you do have some handles, and you have these awesome traction tires. But that's a pretty big beast. Let's go ahead and get this out, get the charging station set up. I now have everything set up. So how this works is we have our power cord right there. It has a very long extension cord, and then that goes right into the charging station here. And then there's another cord that goes over to the antenna. So there it is mounted. You want to have open sky, and then you add a little antenna on there. Now there is another extension for that, as well as there is a power cord specifically for the antenna. So you could place that wherever you have power, even if it's not next to the charging station. So now we have it here. It's very heavy, so let's see if we can get it connected and then have it automatically dock in the app. And now we're going to place this on the charger. There are 2 charging pins that it needs to connect to there on the bottom. And that should be aligned right there. And then with the charging brick that it comes with, that is 2.5 amps. There will be a 10 amp model that will come out later. Now this does feature a removable battery, which is pretty cool. You can see how big this is. One thing we will need to do is plug in the battery before we can get it charged up. Then there is a PIN code we will need to enter to set it up. So that's nice that it is protected so that nobody can just walk away with it and start using it. And here in the app, we need to pair it, connect it to our Wi-Fi. Then we need to scan the QR code on the RTK, so the antenna, and give it a name, and then we're going to map out our yard. I'll go over some of my mapping tips later. Let's get mowing.
Starting mowing now.
Once it leaves its charging station, it then sets the height of the blades as well as the height of the wheels, and it's ready to mow. Now I've noticed it doesn't like this smaller area. It's only going in the middle. It doesn't really want to get too close to the objects here on the side. So I could maybe have it go and create no mowing zones on these steps to see if that works better. But let's see how it does. I've turned on the precision edge mode. So it's going to get as close as it can to the edge I've created when mapping. Now when I did map this yard, I had the border go a little bit off the edge so it could have a nice cut line. And in the settings, I was able to choose to do that. So this is perfectly working where it's cutting right up against the edge. I won't need to come and use my weed eater here. It's gonna do all that for me. Now the other option is to have it be off center from the edge that you created. I tested that out last night and it did leave a little bit of a border away from my concrete barrier, but this is getting much closer and perfectly aligned to where I mapped. In the area options, I can choose how many perimeter borders it does. So I've set it to do 2 perimeters just to get a nice clean finish. That's gonna go a little bit further out from the original border. Do that one more time, and then we'll begin doing the main area. Now the main goal with my yard is to see how well it's able to do in precision cutting. I have a lot of very fine borders as well as some very small obstacles like the steps here. So I want to see if it's able to easily navigate around them without getting stuck and then having a nice clean cut around the edge, preventing me from having doing too much weed eating. Right now it's running at 1 foot per second. So this is actually the slowest you can have it. This is going to have a really nice, good cut on the lawn. It's not gonna go past too fast to miss blades. But if I did want to have it go faster, I could also increase the RPMs of the blades so that they're gonna cut a lot faster as well. So here in the settings, we have all kinds of different options. First, we can adjust the cutting height, again, 1.2 all the way up to 3.75. So here on the front yard, we're doing 2.55. We then have the blade speed where we can just turn it off if we're driving around, or we can turn it on where it's going to 4,000 or 5,000 RPMs. We can do the moving speed. So I have this front yard set to 1 foot per second, but we can have that go all the way up to 3.4 feet per second. Then we have the strip angle. So you can come in here and adjust what the angle you want. There isn't a way to automatically change this. You would just have to manually choose what kind of angle you are looking for. So you have a nice map there. Then here we have the path spacing. So 13.8 is the max, 11.8, you're gonna have a little bit more overlap, might take a tiny bit longer, but it's gonna be a nicer finish. Here we have the mowing order. So you can choose to have the perimeter be first and then mow the main area, or main area, then the perimeter. Then we have turn off outer mower. If I add the discharge little filter on the front to have it mulch on the side, you can have it turn that off so it's not using the outer blade. So you're not going to make a mess over on the sidewalk, which is great. Then here we have mowing patterns. So you can choose a zigzag, which we're doing today. You have chessboard, or you can do just the perimeter laps if you want to do it that way. So if we choose chessboard, we then have relative chessboard. So we can choose the angle at which that is going at. Then here we have the obstacle detection mode. So we have smart, where it's going to look and use its vision to be able to see what objects are in the way, or we could have it touch only. So only if it's bumping into things, then is it going to change which direction it's going. Then we have the no-go zone mowing lap. So if you have an area in the middle of your yard you don't want it to cut, this is how many times it's going to go around that object to have a finer cut. Then you have perimeter mowing laps, so you can set that up to 3. Here we've set it for 2 on the front. And then you have the safe margin mode. So testing this, the precise mode was able to get really close aligned to where I had mapped it out on the edge. Or you can do the offset edge where it's going to come in just a little bit so it doesn't go over something that maybe you don't want it to have go over all the way on the edge. So those are all the different cutting modes. And then you're able to go through and choose that for each one of the yards. And if at any point you need to adjust anything, you can actually come in here, tap on an area and modify the edge as well, or delete an area and add more. You can back up your maps as well. Now you can also come in here and delete any area you need to. If you want to also manually control the robot mower, you can be connected to Bluetooth, tap the controller, and you have full manual control. It has finished mowing the first area. There's some nice thick lines in here, and it did a pretty good job. It did really good on most of the border. Right up here, it kind of missed some as it was trying to turn this corner. Over here, like I said, it wasn't able to get all the way to the edge. I think it's just such a short area, like 3 or 4 feet, not very wide. And then it did miss one little patch right here. And as soon as it finished this, it then drove across my driveway where I've created the channel to the second area here. Now in this area, I increased the speed to 2 feet per second. So you can see it's much faster over here, just cruising along, getting things done. I also adjusted the height. So this is at the 2-inch height. Nice clean cut, and I also changed the spacing to the widest spacing, so there are a little bit of patches that's missing between, so there are 3 options there. It's nice that you can change those to fit what you want to have your yard look like. And here I had one little conversation with my wife, and it's done with this yard. Pretty epic on how quick it was able to do that. It doesn't have to go back and forth as much because of that wide cutting deck. There it finished, and now it is going to navigate around the channel to the backyard. Now, instead of going up and down on the angle for this one, I've set it to go this way. So in the back, it has some really long things that it's going to be able to cut through. So that should be very quick and easy. I've also increased the speed on this to 3 foot per second. Once it finishes the border, we'll be able to see that. And then I think I have a normal pass spacing. And here on the border, I had it not do the offset. So it's going to be a little bit further away from the border, just to be a little more cautious when it's going around the trampoline and other items that we have here on the back patio, even other robots that might be around, so that it doesn't bump into those. So you're gonna see it a little further away from the border, but that's just going to help it be a little more safe. So in between the lines, here are some of the grass that it did miss. And then it was able to navigate easily around the mailbox, just missing a tiny patch there, which is no problem, but it was able to get up front, which my other mower clearly wasn't cutting, and it did a great job there, following the edge of the border perfectly. And that is a nice looking cut. It has now finished the perimeter, and here it's going at 3 feet per second. That is so quick. In here, it's keeping a pretty good distance away from the trampoline. Oh, there, bumped it a tiny bit, but that's okay. Didn't drive over the pad or anything, but there as it maneuvers around its corner, and it continues to go back. Here in the backyard, I have it set to 2.5 inches. I think I did 1 perimeter, and I think I'm having the 13.8 inch overlaps. It's pretty quick when turning the corners as well. Sometimes robot mowers get pretty slow doing that, and it adds extra time to its cut. It has now finished mowing the lawn. It was able to do 2,343 square feet in 40 minutes. So pretty quick time. Didn't get anywhere near using the full battery. We were still at 76% battery. So it's going to head back to the charger and get ready for next time. In the app, there's an option where you can set it to just quickly go back home to the dock, or we can have it follow the perimeter so it doesn't mess up the lines in the yard. Now, how well it did in this area, it was a little bit more difficult. Now for this, I did have it set where it was not at the precise edge, so we're seeing a lot more around the edge where it didn't get to. There's some pretty intricate corners there, so that's a very sharp corner that I will have to just use my weed eater around. But other than that, it stayed pretty close to the edge on some other areas here. You can see a little bit of grass that will need to be taken care of there. Looks like it may have missed one spot along here, but this grass looks awesome. You know, large areas, it's going to have no problem getting back and forth very quickly and getting the job done, which is the main thing that we want to have done with this robot mower. And over here around the trampoline, no issues, just a little bit of edging, which I typically am doing there. And then this small area, it seemed to just do the borders here and then came over here and started the main mowing. Looks like I need to open the fence for it. In the app, it paused, so I'll need to go in and hit resume. And taking a look at the app, you can see where it mowed. So all the green is the area in which it had mowed. So you can see that it did pass over one or two areas here in the back for some reason. They're not having an overlap. You can see that on the main area and then on the side. You know, if I did like, I could set it for a few borders and it would actually take care of this area and then it would be able to quickly do the back, which would be cool. And then coming up here to the front, did a good job there. You can see that big area was the mailbox and there the path across and taking care of all of that. So that is a lot of mowing in such a short amount of time. Now, one of the challenges is getting back on the dock. So let's see how this does. Backed up, maneuvered, and it's able to go up this bump without an issue, landing right into place. Well, I'm very impressed by how quick that was able to complete the lawn, and it did a really good job in this very precise lawn. Now, there are some areas that it could do a little better, very close to objects, but it's so big, it's just really hard to do that. So I will need to do a little bit more weed eating than I might typically do. But if you have some large areas, this is going to be able to get through those so quick. And then it did a really good job when I had it on the precise edge, getting that. As long as you don't have too many fine-tuned areas, this is going to be great for that yard. But what if you have a giant hill in your yard you don't want to mow? Well, let's test out the hill. Oh, isn't this a perfectly nice flat piece of grass to lay down? False. It's a 35-degree angle. And that's one of the great things about the Lymow One. It is able to go up a 45-degree slope or 100%, which is crazy. Let's see how it does. So it's ready to go, about to climb up this hill. It was able to map, no problem. I've set it to about 2.5 height and speed is about 2. So really excited to see how this gets up. And then I've done a cross pattern. So we're gonna go this way and then that way. It is handling that without any issues. Look at it go. Now it's headed down. Those track tires really make it super easy to grip onto the ground and go where it wants to go. Now, one thing I haven't really talked about yet is the floating cutting. So as it is going over, the blades are actually able to move up and down to have a smooth carpet-like finish. A bit hard to show it here, but underneath you'll be able to see that it can move up and down, and it's really being put into play here as it's going up and down the hill. And here you can clearly see the before and after. It is doing such a great job, perfectly crisp lines. You can hear that crunch as those mulching blades go by. This is really incredible. And there it has completed the up and down. It is now ready to go side to side, and it's just cutting right through it. This is gonna make the final product look very finished. There is a few leftover long pieces of grass, so having the checkered board pattern is really going to take care of all of that. Now over here, doing the obstacle avoidance around the tree, it's also going to do a little bit more as it comes back for a second pass there. But I can confidently say this can go up a 45-degree slope without any issues. Now we have had one issue as it's going laterally along the hill. It found a little muddy area that got a little stuck, but it reversed just like it is doing right now, and will fix itself as it repositions and moves around. Another way to mow this would also be diagonally. So I think going up and down was best. This is kind of an extreme test going sideways, but pretty much every other lawnmower I've tested will slide with just a very small hill. So this is doing wonderful. And there it has finished doing the checkerboard pattern. There you can see a nice line up and down, side to side. It was able to handle this hill without any problems. Here at my parents' house, I have tested out a ton of different robot lawnmowers. Now at first, they always do pretty well, but some of the things that creep up is they keep getting stuck on the edge where there's not a concrete barrier, or maybe they don't want to pass under the swings, and there's just so many other obstacles. Even under the tramp, you can see that we've kind of made it a little more robot friendly over here. So this is really a true test. We're going to see how well it does with obstacles as well as following the edge around the lawn. Now the edge, I did map it right up against it, so the tire was touching that very border, sometimes a little over, sometimes a little in. So we're going to try out the two different edge settings first. Now first up, we're going to start with the offset edge. This is to make sure that it doesn't go too close and doesn't fall off the edge. I think this is so amazing. There is no other robot lawnmower that I have seen this feature. Very handy to have. So as you can see, it is keeping a nice border there, so it's not going too close where it may get stuck or bump into anything. I don't know if the Lymow One needs this, but it is great to have. Now here it is running into its first obstacle. It's currently set to the smart, not touch only. So there it bumped around, decided it couldn't come through this path, and is going the other direction. And here is an area typically where the other mowers would get stuck. You can see that we've even put out some concrete blocks to make sure that is not happening. And here in the only area with concrete, it's being very cautious. Now, one other thing to talk about right here is some of the other RTK lawnmowers would get stuck here and wouldn't know how to navigate. The Lymow One is able to continue to navigate if it does lose that RTK signal for about 1,000 square feet or 100 to 150 meters. So that's a pretty big area that can do that. That's really nice that here it's continuing without any issues. But yeah, definitely something we've had a problem with here. And that's mainly because this is right in between two homes and the RTK signal gets a little confusing here. Over here is the closest I've seen it to the edge on the offset mowing. And just like at my home on the concrete pad, I did mow half on and half off when I mapped to see if it would make sure it covered that border. And here it is covering it just a little bit. I went pretty far in, so this would be the technical offset. It made that corner look really nice. There I was able to go around it without getting too stuck or confused. I did have a pretty big area that I mapped over here, so I did map on this side. That helped it know where it needed to go. So they was able to handle the offset edge with no problem. I really like how cautious that is. And then the only thing to worry about is if you have too many things too close to the edge, it may need to navigate around there and wouldn't be able to get too close. So you need to leave like 3 to 4 feet of length so that it can do that perimeter. But that was great. Let's move to the precise edge mowing. Now here as we start this, you can see it's already getting closer. We're within 1 inch of that edge, pretty much exactly where I had drove this while I was mapping out. Big thing here will be corners. How does it handle corners when it's so close to the edge? Ooh, smooth. Now, if it keeps this plan alive, I think this will be a successful test. Just barely. Woo, that was close. I'm not grounded today. And here that gave it enough room to bypass going around and go more into the garden area. Don't plant right next to the edge. But that was great. Perfect. Didn't want it to go in any further, and that's exactly where I had mapped it out. This is really so close to where I mapped. There you can see more concrete blocks, but not gonna need those. And there it went around the tree. It's really not worried about getting stuck, I don't think. And here, staying very close to that concrete barrier, covering way more of that edge. There's gonna be way less weed eating that needs to be done for this. Now they just updated the app, so if we were to have a channel to go to the front yard, you can have it mow while it's going through the channel, which is cool. There it had its first bump along the precise edge. Nice concrete, made it instantly go the other way. And now I can see why the other robot mowers would get stuck there. That would not allow them to get out unless they were 4-wheel drive. Now here it is getting a little high centered, so I probably mapped that a little close, but it got back up. It's on its way. And here it is keeping that precise edge, so we don't need to come back and do any trimming on this edge at all. It saw the trampoline there and moved to the side. And the last grass dirt edge, doing a great job staying out of the dirt and finishing the perimeter. And for precise edging, that was perfect. It had some close calls, but it was able to go around without getting stuck. Now, there's nothing more frustrating giving a lawnmower to somebody and then they keep calling you because it keeps getting stuck. Well, I don't think there's gonna be a problem with this. Again, the only thing you need to be worried about is if you have plants a little too close to the edge, make sure you plant them back a little bit further and keep any cords and anything out of there, and it's gonna do a great job right next to that edge. It didn't have one problem there. That was amazing. So now the next test, the obstacles here. Now it's using that RTK to navigate around, but here it has the V-SLAM system. So that is able to give it vision of where it is going and what's in front of it. So it can see objects that are taller than 2 inches. Now, if you do have big obstacles like this tree in the back, you can create no-go zones, or maybe the tramp. You could draw a line around the tramp so it doesn't try to go under it. And then you can also have it do perimeters around that no-go zone. So it keeps that area covered without getting stuck too many times and speeding up the mow time. It's currently set to 2.5 height, and then the speed is at 2.2, and it's on precise mode and the smart navigation. So here we're gonna get this lawn cut in no time. Excited to see how it does. Oh. All right, so coming up on our first obstacle, a ball, and it slows down, gets right up to it. I was really worried because it was going so fast, but it did it. It saw the ball. Awesome. Here it sees the tramp leg. Do not try and grab the object. Go for the stop button. That's where you're going to be placing your hand. And again, it did recognize the ball and it's going the other way. Now there's the first time it used its bumper, bumped it to the side of the board there. Turning around. It's very good at turning. And here it was able to see the board we put up. Next we have the scooter. One side's higher than the other, but it was able to see the back because it is a larger object. Wow, made it straight through. That's awesome. So make sure there's always a path between your trampoline legs. That's cool. And there you can see that at the 4,000 RPMs and this speed, it's doing a really good job at cutting on this pretty thick grass. It's doing exactly what it should be doing. Now it's interesting right there, it just slammed into the side of that board. It didn't slow down, maybe because it thought it was a little bit lower. So always good to pick up your yard before ever mowing the lawn. And it's never bumped in this tree yet, doing a great job of avoiding it. And here with the first swing set leg, it saw it and moving around it, no problem. And there it does see the swing and doesn't want to go under it. So we have raised the other ones to see if that gives it enough room. But that is interesting. It's being a little cautious on what's above it. Oh, and there it decided it was okay and went past it on this side. And here's how the map is looking with a bunch of obstacles in the ground. Now, we did start in the middle just because where it finished doing the perimeter, but there is still quite a bit that needs to get done. I know we'll go back and try and match and patch all the rest of the gray area and turn it green. But with all the obstacles out of the way, it should know where exactly it needs to go. Now that it finished mowing the majority of the lawn, it's going back to the areas it missed before. Here it was a little more cautious, but it was able to go under the swing and take care of cutting the lawn underneath it. It's now headed under the tramp to finish mowing that area. It will probably still bump into the different boards here. Oh, it did a cautious approach. It's turning around, it's going to clean out this area. And this is what the map is going to look like if you do have a bunch of obstacles. Here we can see exactly what it was finding. It found the 4 legs for the swing set over there. Here it saw the big tree. Most likely it will come back and do this other side before it finishes. Here the trampoline, it did a really good job. It got as close as it could. There is a little bit left over, not much more than what other robot lawnmowers would do. Here there were 2 more obstacles that it was avoiding. So it probably will also come back and fill in some of that. But now it is going over here and quickly getting this done without any obstacles in the way. And here's what it looks like after. Did a great job only around the swing set, which is very typical that we will need to take the weed eater by and some of the other obstacles around the yard. So today we've definitely learned that it can mow perimeters without getting stuck. It can avoid all kinds of different obstacles without running them over, and it can see them. Now I didn't test the touch because we did see that plenty. Sometimes it wouldn't see the very edge of the trampoline pole and it would bump into that, or the swing set that was angled. But the other objects, no problem. Keep the smarts on if you have toys in the yard. You could probably do just the touch if there's only a giant tree. That would be great, but I would say that passed the obstacle avoidance test. No problem there. I'm gonna take this to one more yard because we need to see, can it mow a giant yard without anything in the way? The obstacles are gonna add more time to the cutting, so it's gonna use more battery, but what if there's nothing in the way and it can just go full speed? Let's see how much it can do. It is now time to mow the big lawn. So this area is about 5,000 square feet. Now I did have one issue here while mapping it out. I'm not sure if it's where I've placed the RTK. There is a pretty big house, so that could be the issue. But I think with a large area, you're gonna make sure the RTK is wide open. There's nothing covering it or anything like that. Using that mount for the side of the house to get it the highest point, you're gonna have a lot better success. But we did get the area mapped out, so let's see what we need to mow. I've now mapped a pretty large area, 5,000 square feet. I currently have it set at 3-inch height as well as 3.4 feet per second. And I've turned up those mulching roller blades to the 5,000 RPM. So excited to see how this does. Here we've already got it started. I'm currently at 73%, so I wasn't fully charged when I started this, but excited to see how this does. Let's go LyMow. This is absolutely just cruising through the lawn. I can't believe how fast it can do this. I'm pretty sure that's faster than me mowing the lawn. Check out that carpet-like finish. We are 40 minutes in and it has covered 68%. Very quickly it is getting this done. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned yet is the sound. So it is about 68 decibels. I'd say it's lower volume than a typical lawnmower that you might see, a non-electric lawnmower. Definitely less loud than that. But even if it goes around the corner, you can barely hear it. So really not too bothered by the sound. And right now it is at the highest speed of those blades. So it's going as loud and fast as it can, which is not that bad. It was able to fly through this section, did it so well, covering that little tiny hill, no problem. It now has one small section to do, and then it will end with the perimeter. It has now finished mowing the main area. Now I did turn off all the perimeter to go to where it wants to start the perimeter. So here it's just gonna go to this starting point and then begin going around doing the perimeter. We're about 25% battery right now. There you can see it was able to mow the 5,000 square foot lawn in 61 minutes. It's going to do the perimeter, which is gonna take longer, but I think that did a really good job. Now we only started when we were at about 74%. I've already mowed another lawn today. I've also done some mapping, so I was only able to get it to charge back up to about 74% before we started this lawn. Now here it's being cautious around the edge. I was right up against this when I mapped it, so I love that offset option to keep it further in instead of keep driving over the barrier and getting stuck. Now I just finished the perimeter and it said it's going back to the charger. So in 69 minutes, it finished 100% of this area of 5,191 square feet, and it is at 18% battery. Again, we started around 74. Now I believe if it did hit 15% battery life, it would automatically go back and charge anyway. So I didn't get the chance to do a full 0.57 acre lot, but I think this was good and it can definitely handle a large yard very quickly.
Charging started.
Now let's talk mapping. I do have my twin in the back here, so if he makes too much noise, apologies. So first you need to make sure that you have your RTK in a right location. So when I mapped the big yard, I put the RTK right next to the home, just a few feet away, and we had some major RTK issues. When I went to part of the yard, it started being very erratic in how it was driving and not following what I was doing. And so it was very difficult, but I got it mapped. Now I came home, put the RTK in an area where 360-degree view of the sky, very open, and I was able to map an area which was 165,000 square feet, which equates to about 3.8 acres. And doing a driving test around the perimeter, it was able to go all the way around without getting stuck or anything like that. All right, we are at the furthest point away from my home right now, and it is mapping exactly where I map. So we are very, very accurate even in this giant area. Now at the very end, there was maybe a couple inches that it was off as it was really close to a fence, which I had driven a little bit further away. But in reality, that would be grass on the inside of the perimeter, so you wouldn't have to worry about that. I, of course, have a bunch of obstacles here. So it did 4 acres here. If I would have done other sections, I think I could easily have got to that 15 acres without any issues. So that's really cool. It can do that much area. So checking out that map here, you can see that the map area was 165,756 square feet. And here you can see that massive area. Now, one funny thing is the station and RTK are tiny on the map when you have it out there. It was fun to drive this around and you could zoom in on the map and see what was going on the perimeter. Kind of fun little thing there. But now that we have this, we're gonna go into the edit. And when you first start this, I recommend you map the charging station first. So you click the plus here, tap the charging station, it maps it. Then you can go and map your different zones. So you have the zone where you start. I usually start on a long line, start there, drive around, and then once you match up where you started, it will then save that zone, go to make the next one, create a channel between the two. There's not too much else at mapping. You're just driving behind it using the joysticks. Just be slow. It takes its time, so it's not gonna go too fast when you're mapping, and get as close as you want it to get to the edge. And I didn't have any problems with it getting stuck, so just be wary of where you're going there. And then if you don't want to like map the trampoline, you could create a no-go zone around the tramp so it's not going to try and mow under it, and that would help it avoid it as well without needing to continue to bump into it. So that's the mapping, pretty simple, and you even have the option to look at what is the robot is seeing on the app, which is cool, so I can watch it drive around. I don't have manual controls of it further away. You can manually control it while you're by it, which is kind of cool. Now, as for features in the app, I think it has everything that you need. You have this nice screen right here. It shows the weather. You have your battery percentage. You can go into the settings here, and under general settings, you have the things changing metric to imperial. You can have it follow the perimeter. You can do the zone order and then rainy days. I also like that you have a schedule here. Oh, you can turn on the headlight. You can set that to a specific time. Down here, you have the schedule that you can create. You can have it mow whatever areas you want at certain times. And then here you can create a pin code. So when you do turn this on, you do need to enter a pin code for it to work. So you can change that. So if somebody does take it, it's not going to work for them. You can turn on anti-theft mode, which here you can create a region where it would notify you if it leaves that area. And then you have an option to back up and restore the map. So I actually tried that. You do have to make sure the RTK and everything is in the same location, but it's cool that if you wanted to back it up, just in case, you would have that as well. Or if you want to add some more, and then you could back up to the previous map you have. Really cool that you have all of that. So really full feature app, which is great to see. And I think LyMow is ready to mow a ton of yards. Is this your good side? Well, there you have it. That is the Lymow One, a very capable robot lawnmower. I was able to take it to my house for precision cutting, take it on a giant hill, mow around all kinds of different obstacles, and mow a very large lawn. Now that is saying a lot. Just to make a video about all that in a short amount of time is very impressive. Many mowers just take forever, take some time mapping and getting things worked out, but this was able to do all that so quick. I was able to easily show you all of these things in the video. Now, is it perfect? No, there are a few things that could be adjusted, but some of the things that I want to talk about is how this could be great for many, many yards. If you have a pretty substantial size yard or even small, and it just takes you more than like 30 minutes and you want a robot lawnmower to do it it will get the job done. It's gonna do pretty good on those little areas. You might have to do some trimming to be very fine-tuned, but I was pretty pleased with what it was able to do on my yard. It worked just as good as any other robot lawnmower with its bigger size, and it was able to do it in half the time. Now, if you have any sort of hill in your yard, this is the lawnmower to get. Now, many of the other robot lawnmowers can only cover a hill about this much, but going up that hill, that 30 to 35 degree slope, it was able to handle this no problem. Some areas were definitely up to 40, and it went up and down so quick, so easy. Nobody had to push a lawnmower up. They were telling me there at their home, they would have to go at a diagonal. It was very hard to push a regular lawnmower up, and this had no problem. And I just got to sit and watch it. I got to relax on that one. Now, as for obstacle avoidance, if you do have a bunch of obstacle in your yard, this is still going to work. It had no problem. There was no issues there. It just takes longer the more obstacles you have, so it's going to use a little bit more battery life, and then you may need to do a little bit more trimming. But was it able to go around everything? Yes. Was it able to avoid the basketball and the other scooter? Yes. So great that it could navigate around all those obstacles and then not getting stuck on the border. These track tires are so awesome. We've been calling this the tank because that is what it can do. It can pretty much go everywhere. Only problem, when I mapped once, it did high center over a barrier. So as long as you map it correctly, it will stay within that area and you're not going to have that issue. And then here on the big yard, it cut through this so quick. Just watching it go back and forth was so fun. In real time, we could see it get cut instead of it taking hours and hours. I've been quoted on this yard a few hundred minutes to cut this yard, but this was able to do this main area in 60 minutes. And if I would have had a full charge, I imagine it could have almost completed the entire lawn, which is another lawn about this size. So there's not any obstacles in here, so that saves some time, but you can always adjust the speed to improve battery life or the RPMs of the rotor blades, all kinds of things to kind of tweak how it's going to work for your yard. But as a final production version of the Lymow One, I can say this is an excellent mower to get. This is going to be perfect for your lawn. Now, right now, my recommendations for some of the improvements that could be made is the app is still pretty new. They're still finalizing some of the things there, but it was very functional. It had all the features that I would want in a robot lawnmower app, and it was very capable to do all the things that I wanted it to do. Just could be a few software tweaks here and there. The mower itself works great. It is big, it's bulky, it's heavy, but it can get the job done. Always use the remote on the app to control where you want it to go. That's very easy to do. Other than that, the manufacturing, there is a tiny bit of a hum that's coming from it while it's turned on. I don't know why that is, but that is there. And then here in the large yard, I did find an RTK issue. Most likely because we are putting the RTK right up against the home. You most likely need to have it about 15 feet away from a structure, and then you will not have any problems with the mapping. Now this says it can cover a total area of 15 acres in the storage of the map in 80 zones, and I definitely believe that after doing the 3.8 acre test, it did that flawlessly. It's gonna be able to cover that full area. Overall, if you do have, an acre or two, I think this could be a great mower for your yard and really gonna get the job done quickly. Really happy with the Lymow One. If you wanna get your own, you can check out the link down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.